So Martin Bakole stops Carlos Takam in round 4. This was Battle of the African Uncles. This was an interesting watch. If you haven't seen it, you can actually find it on the TNT Sports YouTube channel because they live streamed this part of the card. And yeah, I forgot to give my impression of it, as well as my impression of Martin Bakole as a fighter as well, because I haven't really spoken about him too much. Overall, I thought this was an interesting watch while it lasted. Um, Granted, I didn't watch it live. I've just watched it recently. Um, it was an interesting watch because you have Martin Bakole, who's like 6'6", whereas you have Carlos Takam, who's what, 6 foot, 6'1" at best, a small heavyweight, but someone who also likes to fight on the outside. So it was interesting to see how Carlos Takam was going to try and solve that puzzle of getting in within range of Martin Bakole to get his offense off. Martin Bakole, I thought he looks quite good in this fight. He came out and he was looking to really establish his size. He came in close to 300 pounds. So yeah, he's been enjoying the deep fried Mars bars up in Scotland. And obviously there's got to be a fat bastard reference, which you can see on the thumbnail. Yeah, he's a big unit, nearly 300 pounds. He's a tall guy, he's got long arms, and he has a very relaxed, kind of smooth style. And that's something I quite like. So he was looking to establish the jab, which he was having some success with. He throws it, kind of has that low left hand, and he flicks the jab out, and looks like it's got some decent venom on it. It's quite accurate too, and he understands how to use the timing of it to line up other offense. And so Carlos Takam, as he does, had a very active guard. He's almost a little bit jittery, where he's trying to get past the lead hand of the much taller opponents that he's used to being in the ring with. And you could see, like, Carlos Takam knew what he wanted to do, knew what he had to do, but Martin Bakole's just a little bit too slick for that. And the first 2 rounds seemed to be relatively quiet, a little bit of a chess match, if you will. But then Martin Bakole, I think he grew in confidence when he was throwing offense, like bigger, more meaningful offense, like right hands and left hooks. And he was just missing by a whisker. And I think he got confidence from that because he's like, okay, if I just time it a bit better, if I just throw it maybe at a different angle, I can catch Carlos Takam. And that's what started to happen from the third round especially. Carlos Takam did a good job of pushing Martin Bakole back onto the ropes, which is something Carlos Takam does quite well because he's very physically strong. Like, the man is built like a tank, and he kind of burrows into his opponents and he knows how to get underneath them. Obviously, he's got a lower center of gravity, so he can just kind of push him back a bit easier. But Martin Bakole wasn't panicked. He was kind of laying back on the ropes, looking to find space, and he started swinging for the heels. And he wasn't the most cultured work you've seen, but some of those punches were getting through. And he started to land with some regularity on Carlos Takam. And then when it came to the fourth round, it was really just all Martin Bakole, where he was starting to dissect Carlos Takam a little bit, landing some real clean offense. And there was one body shot, a left to the body in particular, which was a real sickener. And that got Carlos Takam reeling quite clearly. He was visibly hurt from that. And the stoppage came in the fourth round when Martin Bakole got a little bit of space, extended the jab, and then just landed this big clubbing overhand right. Carlos Takam didn't go down, but he was wobbled. Some people may say that stoppage was a little bit soon. I kind of hear that, although Martin Bakole was landing with regularity and he was landing big shots. He was starting to get quite creative with his offense, which is never a good sign for the other guy because it means that he's probably not in a position to protect himself very well when his opponent can kind of have fun with his offense. But Takam didn't go down, and he has a history of being tough. But I guess the referee just kind of saw it as like, you know what? There's no title on the line. There's nothing. This is not a high stakes fight. Takam, he's getting on a bit. What's Takam now? Is he like 42? So I'm not going to argue either way. If you felt that the fight should have gone on for a little bit longer, I get it. If you feel like the stoppage was okay, I also get it. personally, I wasn't grumbling too much at the stoppage. I thought it was acceptable. Um, it did look like it was all Martin Bakole. However, there are still some questions surrounding Bakole. As I say, I like his style. I think he's an interesting addition because he's a big guy, both in terms of stature and weight. But he's got quite a smooth style, and um, he's not like your average African boxer. Like over the years, there have been African boxers who, mostly from Ghana, I want to say, they've been a little bit rigid. Obviously, I'm aware that Bakole isn't from Ghana. He's from the Congo, I believe. Um, but yeah, he's almost a little bit of a slickster. You know, he has a very relaxed style, and that can be quite dangerous. I think I've mentioned this in the past, whereby some of the most nerve-wracking guys to get in the ring with, whether you're sparring, whether you're fighting them, are the guys who are naturally a bit heavy, a bit fleshy, you know, the kind of chubby or maybe even fat guys, but who are relaxed, because that relaxation kind of affords you a bit more velocity in your shots, a bit more sharpness, because you're relaxed, you're just going to let your shots flow. And they're naturally big guys anyway, so there's already going to be weight behind them. And I'm not saying this is a hard and fast rule, that's just an observation I've made, is guys who are like Bakole, where, you know, they're big, heavy guys, but they're also quite slick and smooth and fluid. They can be a serious handful. And I think Martin Bakole's got some good wins that he's going to capture. The only thing is, I'm not sure about his mindset. Is he maybe a bit of a bully? Because I still can't forget that performance against Michael Hunter. You know, I know Bakole had a shoulder injury, but he looked like he checked out of that fight mentally. And I'm just wondering, if someone puts that kind of pressure on him again, will we maybe see him unravel? Because he's enjoying a bit of momentum over the past while. You know, he got that win over Tony Yoka. He's just beat Carlos Takam. Beat them both in good fashion. There was a Sergey Kuzmin fight back in 2020. I know that was on the undercard of Joshua versus Pulev. I thought Kuzmin was unlucky to not get the decision in that fight. I thought Kuzmin won. But that being said, I'm still impressed by Bakole. I'm not saying that he's going to become a champion, but I think he's definitely going to get some more good wins under his belt. But we have to see how things go for him going forward. But yeah, nevertheless, I thought it was a good performance against a decent level opponent in Carlos Takam. Anyway, let me know what you thought of this performance by Martin Bakole. What do you think his future's like? And do you think he's going to get any decent wins going forward? Leave it down below and I'll get back to you. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you in the next video.